This is an answer key for practice 43.1, and on this exercise we were working with rectangles and squares. And so I'm showing my formula. Perimeter is 2 bases plus 2 heights. So perimeter is 2 times 9, which is 18, 2 times 5, which is 10. So my perimeter is 28 centimeters. Make sure you put your units there. Then this figure is a square. The perimeter for a square is 4s because the sides are all congruent. So 4 times 7 centimeters would be 28 centimeters. In number 3, most of you misread the problem. It says an 8 by 10 rug leaves 1 foot of the bedroom floor exposed on all 4 sides. And it says find the perimeter of the bedroom floor, not the rug. So I said draw and label a picture, and a lot of you didn't do that. It said show the formula used for your work. So here's our rug, and it's measuring 8 by 10, but there's an extra foot on each end of it. So what was the base of the room is going to be 8 with 1 foot plus 1 foot, which would be 10 feet all the way across the room. And then on this dimension of the room, or rug, it was 10, but there's an extra foot showing on each side, so the height of the room would have been 12 feet. So my perimeter would be 2 times 10 plus 2 times 12, which would be 44 feet. Now in the next set of problems, it says to find your area. So we're using a different formula this time. For a rectangle, it's base times height. Our base is in feet. Our height is in inches. So over here on the side, I'm showing you how if 1 foot equals 12 inches, then 4 feet would be 48 inches. So we put those in there and we multiply. 48 times 15 would be 720 inches square. Please remember to put that inches square on your on your area units. Over here we have 90 inches and 3 yards, so there's a discrepancy in the units. So here I have how many yards is 90 inches? Well, in order to change inches into yards, I have to divide by 36 inches because 36 inches is 1 yard. So that gives me 2.5 yards. A base is 2.5. My height is 3, so that's 7.5 yards squared. In number 6, I just have a square because all of the sides are measuring the same, and I tell you find the area of the square. So we're using area is side squared. 7 squared would be 49 centimeters square. Please notice I'm putting that square on my area there. At the bottom I have a shape that is a composite shape. It's not just a square or a rectangle. It's a square. If I cut this off here, this dimension is 4, and here's a rectangle with base of 4 and height of 7. So I'm doing 2 areas to get my total area. The square measured 4 by 4, so that's 4 squared equals 16. My rectangle was a base of 4 and an area, a height of 7. So that's 28. And so when I add those two values together, I will get a total area of 44 square units. Next up, we had the problems that had this blueprint in it, or a scale model. And I put that in there because I wanted to tie it back to what we had done from the unit on similarity. If you count down this edge, there are 10 blocks. So 10 blocks or boxes are equal to 20 feet. So that means one of these distances along here is 2 feet. So I count across, I've got 4, so that makes 8 feet this way. I have 6, so that makes 12 feet. So for my bedroom, it's pretty simple. The perimeter is 2 base plus 2 height, so 2 times 8, 2 times 12 would give me a perimeter of 40 feet. And then, of course, my area would be simple, too. I'm going to multiply the dimensions of 8 times 12 and get 96 feet square. Now, doing the other shape, which is the kitchen, I thought of it in terms of 3 rectangles. 1, 2, 3 rectangles when I started doing the area. To do the perimeter, I simply counted around. This was 6, this was 12, this was 6, 6, 2, 2, 2, 4, 2, 2. So I simply added up all of those sides there and came out with 44 feet squared. A lot of you were close. Some of you got 40, 42, but it was actually 44. Now see how I did my area? I did my area as if it were 3 different rectangles, and then I added those up when I got to the end of the problem. So this rectangle had a base of 12 and a height of 6. Base of 12, height of 6. This one had a base of 6, height of 2. This had a base of 4, height of 2. And so I computed those other areas, and I simply added those up. That was 92 feet squared. These were review problems, which most of you did well on. The first one says, find the circumference and put your answer in terms of pi. And I added that in there. It has to be simple terms of pi. So it's going to be pi times diameter of 16, but the right way to write that is 16 pi units, approximately 50.3 units. Over here, you can do it one of 2 ways. You can either use the diameter formula or the radius formula, and I worked it both ways. I prefer the diameter. I just go ahead and say my diameter is 7.8 pi, and then I multiply that out on my calculator. Down here, I meant to say round to the nearest tenth. I see that I didn't do that on the original worksheet, but you'll be asked to do that on your test, so make sure you're doing that as you work through these problems. Pi r squared, r is 12.5. Please square it and then write your answer in simple pi form. 12.5 squared is 156.3 pi. Multiply that out, you get 490.1 square units. For this problem, you're still finding area, but they gave us diameter, so I still have to think, well, I need radius for the formula. So the radius is 100. When you put that in and square it, you get 10,000 pi as your simple pi answer. When you multiply that out, you get 31,415.9 square units. And I did notice that these were not good questions that didn't have dimensions on those, but your questions on your quiz might say 200 inches or 200 miles or whatever, so make sure you're putting your dimensions on the answers.